The Talisman Wizard podcast episode number 3. Continuing our tournament of Talisman character battles, let's get right into it. Gin-Blooded versus Swashbuckler. AIStoryGenerator.org is bringing forth this AI-generated story, which will give us the victor. Gin-Blooded versus Swashbuckler. The sun was setting over the horizon as the Swashbuckler, a swashbuckling pirate known for his cunning and bravery, stood facing his greatest challenge yet. Across from him stood Gin-Blooded, who had been terrorizing the seas for years. The two enemies were surrounded by their respective crews, each one ready to fight to the death. "So, you think you can defeat me?" Gin-Blooded sneered, his golden eyes glinting in the fading light. "I have killed countless men like you, Swashbuckler. You don't stand a chance." Swashbuckler smiled wickedly, his teeth gleaming white in the darkness. "We'll see about that," he drawled, drawing his sword. "Let's end this once and for all." With a fierce cry, both combatants charged at each other, their blades clashing in a flurry of steel and sparks. The air was filled with the sound of shouting and the clanging of weapons as the two crews battled on. As the fight raged on, it seemed that neither side could gain the upper hand. But then, just when it looked like the tide was turning in favor of the Gin-Blooded, Swashbuckler landed a lucky blow, striking Gin-Blooded right between the shoulders. Gin-Blooded let out a blood-curdling scream and stumbled backwards, his golden skin darkening as his life force began to fade. With one final gasp, he fell to the ground, defeated. Swashbuckler stood victorious, his chest heaving with exhaustion. He gazed down at his fallen foe, a sense of satisfaction washing over him. It had been a long and brutal battle, but in the end, justice had been served. The seas would now be safe from Gin-Blooded's tyranny once again. And so, with a triumphant cry, Swashbuckler raised his sword high above his head, basking in the cheers of his crew. The legend of the Swashbuckler would live on forevermore. And so, Swashbuckler defeats Gin-Blooded. And now, on to the next battle. Dragon Hunter versus Black Knight. In the land of Talisman, where dragons and men once lived in harmony, a dragon hunter had heard tales of a fearsome Black Knight who threatened to destroy their way of life. This dark warrior and his armor shimmered like obsidian under the moonlight. His swordsmanship was unmatched, and his heart seemed devoid of mercy or compassion. One day, while on patrol, Dragon Hunter spotted Black Knight riding toward him, surrounded by a retinue of soldiers. The air grew heavy with anticipation as both parties drew closer, their gazes locked, and for a moment time stood still. "So, you are the one they call Dragon Hunter," Black Knight sneered, his voice dripping with disdain. "I have been waiting for this moment." Dragon Hunter, unfazed by Black Knight's words, replied coolly, "And I have been waiting for you." Without further ado, the two combatants charged at each other, their weapons clashing in a flurry of steel and sparks. The battle raged on for what felt like hours, neither gaining the upper hand. But just when it seemed that Dragon Hunter might emerge victorious, Black Knight unleashed a devastating blow, striking the Dragon Hunter down. As Dragon Hunter lay dying, he knew that his fate would soon be sealed. But then, something unexpected happened. A magnificent golden dragon appeared out of nowhere, breathing fire and scattering the enemy army. With renewed strength and determination, Dragon Hunter rose from the ground, ready to face Black Knight once more. This time, there could only be one outcome: victory or death. The two foes engaged in a fierce duel, their blades flashing in the sunlight, until finally, Dragon Hunter struck the final blow, ending Black Knight's reign of terror. As the last of his soldiers fled, the Dragon Hunter stood tall, victorious but scarred, knowing that his legend would live on forever. And so, Dragon Hunter defeats Black Knight. And now for our third and final battle of this episode. It will be Dragon Rider versus Ogre Chieftain. In the land of Talisman, where dragons and humans lived in harmony, a young female was known for her exceptional skill as a dragon rider. She had grown up training alongside her father, one of the most respected riders in their kingdom, and had always been determined to prove herself as a fierce warrior. One day, word reached Dragon Rider that a powerful ogre chieftain from the Dark Kingdom was raiding nearby villages, leaving destruction and terror in his wake. The King of Talisman called upon Dragon Rider and her dragon to lead a group of soldiers to defeat the ogre chieftain and bring peace back to the region. Dragon Rider accepted the challenge without hesitation, knowing that this would be the greatest battle of her life. She gathered her weapons and set out with her dragon and a small band of soldiers. As they approached the ogre stronghold, they could hear the sound of drums beating in the distance, signaling the approach of the enemy. As they entered the stronghold, Dragon Rider spotted the ogre chieftain standing atop a hill, surrounded by his loyal followers. He was massive, easily 3 times her size, with thick skin and sharp tusks. But what caught her attention was the look of pure hatred in his eyes when he saw her. "So, you're the little girl who thinks she can defeat me," the ogre chieftain sneered. "I'll enjoy watching you burn." Without hesitation, Dragon Rider charged forward on her dragon's back, her sword raised high, the two engaging in a fierce battle, with Dragon Rider dodging the ogre's blows and striking back with all her might. But despite her best efforts, she found herself struggling against the ogre's incredible strength. Just when it seemed like all hope was lost, her dragon unleashed a burst of fire, sending the ogre stumbling backwards. Dragon Rider took advantage of the momentary distraction to strike the final blow, plunging her sword deep into the ogre's heart. As the ogre chieftain fell to the ground dead, Dragon Rider felt a sense of pride and satisfaction wash over her. She had proven herself as a true warrior and brought peace back to the region, and as she returned home, she knew that she would never forget this epic battle against the malevolent ogre chieftain. And so, Dragon Rider defeats ogre chieftain. All right, time to enter all this into the tournament bracket. Swashbuckler defeats Gin-Blooded. Dragon Hunter defeats Black Knight. And Dragon Rider defeats Ogre Chieftain. Thanks for the listen to the Talisman Wizard Podcast, episode number 3. Be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. It is much appreciated. Soon I will try to come up with a way to kind of, maybe make this more interactive, and maybe I'll start posting some sort of poll that we can do to see who thinks is going to win the fights before I come out with the episode, and we'll see what the AI actually dictates. And then it'll be kind of more fun because everyone will have expectations for who they think's going to win, and then maybe the AI story comes up with something totally different, or maybe it falls in line with what people think. But that's kind of the fun of this random AI-generated story. It's kind of a lot like the game of Talisman, where so many random things happen because it's mostly dice and chance-based, but with some skill involved a little bit, But that's the beauty of it, the fantasy world of Talisman. So yeah, thanks again, and hope you have yourself a good one.